We have noted this quite a bit here on the MeidasTouch network, but the mainstream media is utterly failing us at exactly the time we need the Fourth Estate to really step it up and fight for the truth. My name is Suri Crowe, and you are watching the MeidasTouch network. So NBC News has hired Ronna Romney McDaniel. This is the woman who dropped her family name, Romney, so she could appear more MAGA and more loyal to Donald Trump than her just regular conservative uncle, Senator Mitt Romney. By the way, Donald Trump recently outed Ronna from her longtime position as RNC chair and replaced her with ultra MAGA and his daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, to officially take over the Republican National Committee.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it, and Lara Trump is elected as co-chairman of the Republican National Committee.
I know how important this role is, and it is truly an honor to be here to work alongside all of you over the next 241 days. That's right, we're keeping track. Because we know what the goal is at the end. We have one goal. The goal on November 5th is to win, and as my father-in-law says, big league.
So while Trump completes his authoritarian takeover of the Republican Party and has all of the funds filching in to defend him from his multiple criminal cases and legal issues, NBC decides to hire a woman who actively participated in an election coup and who refuses to acknowledge that President Joe Biden won the election fair and square. In a twist of irony, Mehdi Hasan, who is a former MSNBC host, and they canceled his fantastic show, points out that Romney McDaniel lied about the 2020 election, was involved in a pressure campaign to get Michigan officials to not certify the vote, and has accused MSNBC of spreading lies and employing primetime propagandists. Wow. By the way, Ronna McDaniel will be appearing on the very channels she blasted and called liars and propagandists. Okay. Here's what the chief of NBC News political coverage said in a company memo about the hire. Quote, "It couldn't be a more important moment to have a voice like Ronna's on the team," Carrie Budoff-Brown said. Wow. Okay. Carrie. Here's what McDaniel said in an interview with Chris Wallace, formerly of Fox News, who is now at CNN, regarding President Biden's 2020 election win. Quote, "I think there were lots of problems with the 2020 election." She goes on to say, "But I don't think he won it fair. I don't. I'm not going to say that." Again, for the record, there is absolutely zero, nil, zilch proof of any election fraud that assisted President Biden in his win to the White House. And that has been proven in over 60 court cases and filings by the MAGA heads who were attempting to prove that. It is the big lie. And people like Ronna Romney McDaniel have continued to propagate that. This is the same woman who told fake electors in Michigan that she would get them lawyers if they were busted in the election, in the attempted coup. McDaniel herself could ostensibly face federal charges for interfering in an election. And NBC News gives her a job. I'm like, Ricky Davila tweeted his thoughts out on X, quote, "Not soon after Ronna Romney McDaniel resigned as chair from the RNC." Remember, it was really Donald Trump who pushed her out. "The co-conspirator in sedition and insurrection was just hired by NBC to further share her dangerous lies. The media is utterly broken and has continuously, deliberately failed us." I sadly have to agree, and I have known this for a long time, but to see a failure like this as we are heading toward an existential election, and that cannot be overstated enough. What is at stake in elections across the country this year? It's still super disappointing to see legacy media fail democracy over and over again. We need a free and independent press. We need honest brokers of information. We shouldn't put liars on network news. The fact that I even have to point that out is also a huge disturbing moment at the time we're in. Always, but especially right now, we need honest brokers. And right now, fascism is spreading from the Capitol building, where people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and MAGA Mike Johnson and others are just running ramshod and holding up incredibly important programs that Americans depend on, because all they care about is power and not legislating anything that will help Americans have better lives. And we're seeing this spread of fascism and autocracy in places like the Tennessee state legislature. And, the New York Times has completed its turn from once reputable journalistic bastion to now constant Biden bashing headlines, like just crazy. CNN has hired far-right extremists and liars, and now we have NBC hiring this professional gaslighter and fascist. And when they do this, when these big news outlets make hires like this one, they are normalizing dangerous and dishonest behavior. You don't hire Nazis as political commentators, NBC News. You prosecute them. We simply cannot afford to numb this out right now. The legacy media, by the way, is run by giant corporations. It's always cracked me up, having worked for them for the last many years of my life. People say, oh, the liberal media. It is not liberal at all. It is owned by monster corporations like Comcast and Time Warner, who benefit from enormous tax breaks given by Republicans. They only care about stock price and capitalism. So they are actively campaigning in this political horse race bull shucky. They want us to be biting our nails with the constant reporting of election polls that show that Biden is behind by 20 points. These are election polls that have been historically wrong, and they do it to gaslight us so that we will not hear the truth and think that things are worse than they are. Not to say things aren't bad, but anyway. And more people are turned off by moves like the one that NBC News just made. They are leaving legacy media. Silly season is upon us tweeted, quote, MSNBC hired Ronna Romney McDaniel. Did that really happen? Well, that's it for me then. I've been wondering what my tipping point would be. Now I know. Hashtag boycott NBC. And really, that's the only message that huge corporations like Comcast, NBC, et cetera, are going to hear, is when they hear it through their ad dollars and their revenues. And I hope that people who are leaving legacy media come over to independent platforms like the MeidasTouch network, where they can get, and they deserve to get, the facts and unfiltered truth. We are pro-democracy here, but we don't sugarcoat and gaslight. That is not journalism. That is not being an honest broker of information. And I left the mainstream media because I just couldn't swallow the corporate narratives and, quite frankly, the lies they wanted me to propagate in my daily TV news job reporting position. And, I got in trouble for it. So I'm very happy to be out of that, because this is the kind of stuff they are pulling. There is no both sides to racism, fascism, and hatred. There just isn't. Okay? My origin story, by the way, of how I got out of mainstream news and landed here at the MeidasTouch Network is linked in the description below. Please check it out. And share, comment, and like on this video. Tell us what your thoughts are about decisions like the one that NBC just made. Again, they're not the only ones that are doing this. I'm appalled. I think it is rewarding terrible, dangerous behavior. And just before I wrap up here, there's a huge difference between having conservatives on, like former RNC chair Michael Steele, who works at MSNBC, who does a great job of breaking things down with a more conservative viewpoint. But he's not a fascist. He cares about freedom and democracy, and he cares about his country and the people who live here first before party. There's a huge difference between having someone like that employed at your network and somebody like Ronna Romney McDaniel. It's just wow. Anyway, my name is Suri Crowe. Thank you so much for joining me here on the MeidasTouch Network today. I hope to see you back here very, very soon, and I wish you peace.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.